Welcome back to Arsenal News TV, and today we're going to look at how Arsenal could line up versus Chelsea in their second Premier League game. So let's get right into it with the formation. And I think Mikel Arteta has a big decision to make in terms of what formation he will play in the previous game, apart from the pre-season friendly. In the game before that in the Premier League, Mikel Arteta made that bold move to refer back to that back three formation and have three at the back to counter and really be a sole opposite to Chelsea's back three formation as well, and they have their own youngster in the form of Chalobah impressing as well in that right centre-back position, even though they have other experienced centre-backs such as Thiago Silva and other experienced centre-backs such as Kurt Zouma as well, who haven't even got a look in, with their sole pretty much likely to go with Rudiger, Christensen and Chalobah. So Mikel Arteta could refer back to that back three formation, but since we're looking at how Mikel Arteta will line up Arsenal and not how I would line up Arsenal, I will go through how I would line up Arsenal after I went through how Mikel Arteta will go and line up Arsenal. So in terms of the formation, I think Mikel Arteta will stick with that 4-2-3-1 formation, but he might make that bold move to refer back to that 3-4-3 formation, but it will be a game which is very similar to the game versus Chelsea in the Premier League where we won 1-0, where Emil Smith-Rowe had that one chance where Jorginho made that mistake, and it was a great opportunity for Arsenal to get that victory, but it was a game where Chelsea should have easily won. They had a lot more chances, they looked much more dominant, but also were lucky to get that victory. But the same can't be said this time around because they have goal scorers in the form of Romelu Lukaku. Kai Havertz looks like he's performing really well in the pre-season friendlies for Chelsea, and in the game versus the previous game versus the likes of Crystal Palace, he did look very good, but even though he didn't perform, I mean in the Super Cup versus Villarreal, he did look really good. So they will have a lot of goal getters this time round because last time they had the likes of Timo Werner who was lacking confidence, and that's why we were lucky to get that 1-0 victory. So let's get right into the squad that Mikel Arteta will go with. So in terms of the goalkeeper, now I don't need to say straight away that there will only be one option in the form of Bernd Leno, and there is another signing that has been made by the Gunners, and that is in the form of Aaron Ramsdale. And Aaron Ramsdale is a player that has had a lot of criticism by the Arsenal fan base for the price that he's been brought in, which is reaching up to £30 million in add-ons, and that's something that Arsenal fans think that is a waste of money and could have been invested in other players, such as with that money you could have got in the likes of Jose Mauer and Andre Onana. But for me, I think we have a goalkeeper who wants to play for this football club. I don't know if Andre Onana will have his head fully focused on every single game and give all he can in every single game. But when it comes to Aaron Ramsdale, we have someone that is very young. He's only 23 years old, and he's had bags of experience in the Premier League with Bournemouth and Sheffield United, even though he's been relegated. And he's got the opportunity to have some international experience as well, something that Gareth Southgate has seen in Aaron Ramsdale to bring him in, even though there was injuries to the likes of Dean Henderson and the other goalkeeper in the form of Nick Pope. So maybe Ramsdale may not get the opportunity in the World Cup qualifiers to feature once again, so he might get the opportunity to impress in the game versus Chelsea. But I think Mikel Arteta will definitely stick with Bernd Leno, even though I'd rather see Aaron Ramsdale given the opportunity to be the number one goalkeeper, because I think something that Aaron Ramsdale can believe and something that he can bring to the table is the fact that his ability to play out from the back, and hopefully this starts to face up and starts to make Bernd Leno really worried about his position and start to give top performances as well, because he's been someone that's been sitting in the back seat, sitting with a third gear run, because he knows that there's no one else to compete with him, such as the likes of Nkunku, Ron Alex Runnison, Karl Hein. These are players that have no chance to compete with a German goalkeeper. But Aaron Ramsdale, being an English international as well, has a good opportunity but to really have some healthy competition and have a really good opportunity to have the best goalkeeper in every game and have the best performance from the goalkeeper every game as well. So I think Bernd Leno will be expecting to retain the gloves for the time being under Mikel Arteta in the first match, where Aaron Ramsdale will probably be sitting on the bench. But for me, I would love to see Ramsdale given the opportunity today in the game versus Chelsea. I know it's going to be a tough opponent, but if you need to see beat the European champions, we need to have some tricks up our sleeve, and I will definitely go with Aaron Ramsdale as a different sort of goalkeeper, because I know Chelsea will have things planned for Bernd Leno. He's someone that is very lackluster when it comes to his confidence, and he's very lackluster when it comes to his mindset, and he's very lackluster when it comes to his cleverness as well, because there's moments where I need to see that speed in his passing, the speed in his mindset, because sometimes he's very slow and sluggish when it comes to getting the ball, playing out from the back. He's very nervous, he doesn't think things through, and that's something that is very bad, because if the goalkeeper is rotten, then the whole team all depend on this play out from the back, and the whole team will return to be rotten, just like the foundation. If the foundation is poor, then you won't have a building. So for me, Bernd Leno can start in the game versus Chelsea, but I'll rather go with Aaron Ramsdale in goal, because I want to see what he can bring. And one good performance versus Chelsea, I think it's a great opportunity for Aaron Ramsdale to be between the sticks, to really show that he is worth that £24 million, and really make Mikel Arteta make a statement in him being the number one goalkeeper. For £24 million is something that should be acceptable, reaching up to £30 million when you consider Chelsea themselves spent £70 million on Kepa. So now moving into that right back position, since Mikel Arteta will be referring to that 4-2-3-1 formation, it will be in the form of Callum Chambers in my opinion, even though we have two other average right backs in the form of Hector Bellerin and Cedric Soares. And Callum Chambers is a player that Mikel Arteta admires to a very large extent, and I think that he will definitely go with this formation, and definitely go with Callum Chambers in that right back position, because he offers that solidity in defence, and he offers some attacking prowess as well. For me, I'd rather see the likes of Callum Chambers given an opportunity, but I'd rather see Cedric Soares given the opportunity, because he is someone that I think, why isn't he being given the chance under Mikel Arteta? He was one of Mikel Arteta's first signings. I don't know what he's done wrong in training ground or what he's done poorly, but I think he's much better than Callum Chambers, and he has much more fighting spirits when compared to Chambers, who has been at this club for a very long time. But when you consider Cedric Soares, he's someone that will want to win for this football club. He will try to put 110%, 120% in every performance. But definitely this shows that this is an area for Mikel Arteta to find some players, some recruitments in the transfer window, and hopefully this is the next priority given our first 5 summer signings. And hopefully things should be done quickly, because you can clearly see that it's going to haunt us. We've made good signings in the form of Odegaard, where that's a position that we need to solve. And in Aaron Ramsdale, that must be a player that we need to buy, because Bernd Leno didn't have a number 2 goalkeeper to compete with him. And 2 top keepers will be, not 2 top keepers, but 2 keepers that can keep with each other and really compete with each other is something that Mikel Arteta definitely needs. So moving into that right centre-back position, there is a position where I would straight away tell you that this is a player that will be playing in that position. But after that shocking performance versus Brentford, it's something that I'm starting to wonder, is it worth that £50 million? But Ben White for me is someone that will grow on to become the centre-back at Arsenal, in my opinion. I think if you bring in the likes of Gabriel Magalhaes back into the team, I think that chemistry, that cohesion was something that can really build a solid partnership. We can all imagine it. And this can also be another reason why Mikel Arteta could adopt to that 3-4-3 formation to really counsel with Chelsea and really be an eye for an eye and do a team for a team battle. So for in that right centre-back position, I will go with Ben White. There's nothing wrong with Ben White, he's the number 4, but we can really start to see that his ability when it comes to his physicality is something that is really poor, because you clearly saw that he was done dirty by Ivan Toney. So moving into the partner to Ben White, it will be in the form of either Pablo Mari or Gabriel Magalhaes, with Gabriel Magalhaes still returning from his injury and looks likely to return at the end of this month. We will still have to go with Pablo Mari, and he is someone that has struggled with this sort of play that Mikel Arteta has started to implement, where we have much more of a higher line. And that's something that Pablo Mari will definitely struggle under due to his lack of pace, even though he's very smart when it comes to his calm and composed prowess. And I think that he's someone that has the capabilities which really mirrors what Ben White can offer as well. They both are very similar players, very calm and composed players, which I do like. But when it comes to Pablo Mari, he has been looking shaky. I still can see that pass where he made to Bernd Leno, and then he was pressed heavily by Brentford. And there's something where something has gone wrong, I think, under the training ground. Something has gone wrong behind the scenes, which really we don't know, between Pablo Mori and certain other players. So moving into that left back position, I think there's only one name we can go with, and that's Kieran Tierney. But I would love to see Nuno Tavares given the opportunity as well, because every game I've seen him play, he's looked very decent. He looks like he wants to play for this football club. He looks like he wants to make a difference, and that's something that I want to see with that battle. We talked about the healthy competition between Leno and Ramsdale, but I think there's a top level competition between Kieran Tierney and Nuno Tavares, and really have a good left back for years to come, and have the opportunity to really dominate down that left hand side, something that Mikel Arteta has utilised throughout his plans. So in that left back position, it will be in the form of Kieran Tierney, and Kieran Tierney is a player that many people do love at this football club, but there were moments where he did look defensively shaky in the game versus Brentford, even though he has made those overlapping runs, something that will refer to why we should go back to what I think my formation and what I think in terms of how Mikel Arteta should utilise the players in his squad. So now moving into the midfield, we only have two midfielders to discuss in terms of the holding midfielders, and the first person that rights into mid position could either be Sambi Lokonga, Mohamed El Neni, or the likes of Lucas Torreira, who has returned to training ground. He has returned after a very extended holiday break. But even though he doesn't look like in Mikel Arteta's plans, I would love to see Lucas Torreira return to that midfield position. I think he's been done dirty by the likes of Mikel Arteta to not giving him the opportunity to really play in his preferred position in that number 6 position. Something we were trying to make similar links with him and N'Golo Kante when he was brought in, and that's a position that I think he will really thrive in. He's a tough tackling midfielder, something that he can get the ball away from. Someone that has a very slow sort of style in the form of Jorginho in that midfield battle, and I would love to see Torreira, even though he's just returned back to training. I think he works hard for the football club and he'll work hard for himself and really make a huge difference in that midfield. But I think Mikel Arteta would rather go with Sambi Lokonga instead of Mohamed El Neni. But we can clearly see that we need recruitments in that midfield area, given the fact that we do look very poor, because we are relying on Sambi Lokonga, a very young player, only 21 years old, to go and fight against the likes of N'Golo Kante and Jorginho, who have been first and second in the UEFA Player of the Year so far. So it's a tough battle, but if you're going to win football matches, we're going to have to show our fighting spirit. And when it comes to a London derby, I think the form gets out of the window, and there are going to be nerves with us having the boost of the fans, even though they are not happy at the moment with Stan Kroenke, and it will lead to us having a probable, if we concede a goal first like we did against Brentford, I think this will start to get things worse. I think we'll start to get from ugly to even more worse. And in that midfield position, we would like to see Albert Sambi Lokonga. But as I mentioned, after we look at how Mikel Arteta will line up, also we're going to look at how I'm going to line up the football club versus Chelsea in the game in the London derby at the Emirates tomorrow. So in terms of the left centre mid, someone that's going to be partnering him, it won't be the likes of Thomas Partey due to his injury, and pretty much someone that signed a long-term contract at the football club. His name is Granit Xhaka. And Mikel Arteta has confidently stated that he wanted to keep Granit Xhaka at the football club. He saw the best in him, and after those 2 years with him in the football team, he's something that is a really peculiar situation with the club. We realised that Roma wanted him for 20 million euros. We said that we won't even get 10 million pounds for him, but we didn't make that move happen. But then also made the bold move to give him a new long-term contract extension, and he's extended his contract by 2 years with the option to a further year as well. So Xhaka now has a longer stay with the football club, and ever since Granit Xhaka has joined the football club, we haven't had Champions League football. So the situation with Xhaka is a really interesting one, but I'll rather see more midfielders added and rather see Xhaka as a substitute rather than someone as a regular starter under this football club. I haven't seen enough from him, even though he has impressed at certain moments. There are going to be times where he does impress, like the Switzerland game versus France, he had impressed. But this has to be on a consistent basis, and something that we lacked last season was a consistency, and I don't want to see no 8th place finish. I want to get into the European places minimum, not Europa Conference League, at least in the top 6 minimum. So we are in a predicament right now with the midfield, but being a midfielder himself, Mikel Arteta should know who he should put. And for me, I'll rather see other midfielders, which I would express later after I say my lineup. Moving into that number 10 role, it's going to be one man, and his name's going to be Mo Smith-Rowe. Even though we just signed Martin Odegaard, he had some visa problems, which means that he won't be able to feature in the game versus Chelsea. But Smith-Rowe it was one of the shining lights in the game versus Brentford. He was someone that showed his determination, showed his passion for the football club. And those glancing runs and those glaring runs and those gliding runs is something that Mikel Arteta will be able to utilise. But he's a very good player when it comes to those half spaces. And Smith-Rowe, for me, will be a good player moving into the season. And I think he will make a huge impact for this football club. So in that number 10 role, he definitely will be in the form of Smith-Rowe. And I think he's a big fan favourite. And he will probably be wanting to see players wearing his number 10 shirts. So moving into the wingers, we're going to start off with the right winger. And this is where we're going to have a bit of a problem. Who we're going to go with? For me, I see two right wingers, either Mikel Pepe or Bukayo Saka. One of those two players is someone that Mikel Arteta will probably utilise. But the way he's been utilising throughout the pre-season friendlies, he's starting to play a lot of matches. Even though he was very poor in the game versus Brentford, it will be in the form of Mikel Pepe. And with the likes of Alexander Lacazette, Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang looking very unlikely to feature in the game versus Chelsea, and with other players such as Christian Pulisic and Ruben Loftus-Cheek, he would even struggle to start anyway, have also been tested positive for coronavirus. And the COVID-19 pandemic is something that has really fallen down, but there are still cases happening here and there, and that's the problem when it comes to these football matches. We will have to expect the unexpected, and COVID cases, something that can arise from anywhere at any moment in time, can really start once again. So hopefully none of these problems begin, and hopefully this COVID-19 restrictions is something that is put in place for the players in a really strict manner, so it can prevent football matches being cancelled and prevent big games such as the London Derby, which looks unlikely to happen due to the Kroenke out protest, which Arsenal fans will definitely need to impress in. Otherwise, it will be another lack of ambition where no one really cares about this football club. We're in a predicament all over the place, but this is not the time to talk about it. But in that right winger position, we're going to look at Mikel Pepe. And Mikel Pepe is a player that's worth £72 million. For me, he's shown nothing, no glimpses of a £72 million player. But he now has the opportunity to really kick on this season because he's had his honeymoon period, he's had his time to adapt. There was that moment where he looked really decent, and I think that was heavily due to Martin Odegaard. The way Martin Odegaard drifts down that right hand side gives Mikel Pepe the opportunity to be more further and closer to the goal. And that's a really good, smart buy by Mikel Arteta, even though many Arsenal fans wanted James Maddison. So moving into that left winger role, I think we will see the likes of Bukayo Saka returning. I think he's one of the few players that definitely will be one of the first players on the team sheet. And Saka had a lot of good reception from the Brentford fans, from the Tottenham fans, which is something I'll likely say. But other fans that have been really showing their praise, they're really showing their gratitude towards the likes of Bukayo Saka. Now at the Emirates Stadium, the Arsenal fans must do 10 times better. This is our player, this is our star boy. We've made this player, and hopefully he impresses in the game versus Chelsea and makes the likes of Thomas Tuchel really scratch their heads and help Mikel Arteta in terms of his role in the management scheme as well. So moving up front, this is where the problem lies. We don't have two of our best strikers, Aubameyang and Lacazette, because both of them have COVID. So we will have to either go with Gabriel Martinelli or the likes of Folarin Balogun. Nketiah is injured. He's someone that won't return until September. So for me, Martinelli or Folarin Balogun, I think Folarin Balogun has impressed since he signed that new long-term deal. Yes, he's a decent player. Yes, he's someone that impressed in the under-23s and time again. But so did Nketiah. Eddie Nketiah was getting more goals than Folarin Balogun in the under-23s. And he's someone that is the top goal scorer in the under-21s for England as well. But in that position, I'd rather see Gabriel Martinelli. I think his directness is something that will be really important. And I think this is how Mikel Arteta should go with in the form of Gabriel Martinelli. So this is, I think, how Mikel Arteta will line up Arsenal. So we're going to look at how I will line up Arsenal in just a few seconds. But this is how I think Mikel Arteta will line up Arsenal with Leno, Mari, Kieran Tierney, Ben White and Chambers in that defensive lineup. Xhaka and Lokonga in the midfield. Smith-Rowe in that number 10 creative position, Saka on the left, Pepe on the right, and Gabriel Martinelli up front. So in terms of how I will line up Arsenal, I will definitely start straight away into the formation. And the formation is something that I'm going to change in this game, because this will enable Arteta to have a different style, a different change, and different reason for Thomas Tuchel to think, why this change? And he will have to think, he will have to rethink his plans, the way they're going to dominate the game. And that's something that we should do and refer back to that back three formation. And that's something that Mikel Arteta thrived in, due to the fact that with this back three formation, we was able to see the likes of getting the best out of players such as that defensive lineup with Kieran Tierney playing in that left winger, left centre back role and really impressing. And seeing other players such as the likes of Maitland-Niles, these players were given the opportunity to impress in that left wing back role. And this back three was something that helped Mikel Arteta really win that FA Cup, because we were very good when it comes to everyone working together as a team and really being a difficult team to break down. And I think we need to start bringing that back if we're going to get to win football matches. I don't care if we're winning it ugly. We need to make it a style of play. Our style of play is unknown at the moment, and we definitely need a style of play. So in terms of the goalkeeper, I want to see Aaron Ramsdale given the opportunity, because, to be honest, I'm not a huge fan of the likes of Leno. And for me, Aaron Ramsdale is someone that I would rather see, and I can't see Aaron Ramsdale over there. So in that position, I want to see Ramsdale because it hasn't been added to the squad list, and that's the player that I want to see in that goalkeeping department. But if he is not given the opportunity, and if he won't be available for the match, then we'll have to go with Bernd Leno. But if he is available for the match, I will definitely start Aaron Ramsdale. So moving into that right centre-back position, I'm going to go with Ben White, because I think this is the position he impressed very well for Brighton, that back three formation, where he has the freedom to have the ball and really make those darting runs, to make those really good diagonal balls, and that's where he thrived in under Graham Potter for Brighton. So moving into that main centre-back position, I would love to see the likes of Pablo Mari play in that position rather than the left centre-back position, even though I love to see the likes of even Callum Chambers, Rob Holding in that main centre-back position. I think this is a position where it's an experienced Ted that has the opportunity to play out from the back. He knows what he's doing, and he's very good at analysing the game, and that's something that suits Pablo Mari really well. He's the last line of the defence, and his positioning is something that is really good. It's just his lack of pace, so he can really rely on the other centre-backs such as Ben White, and the left centre-back in this scenario, Kieran Tierney. And Kieran Tierney is a player which I'm going to go in that left centre-back position, because this is a position that he played in under Mikel Arteta in that back three formation when they won the FA Cup, and I think he could thrive in this position once again. So moving into that right wing-back position, this is where there's going to be a lot of questions. Who is going to play in this right wing-back position? But I want to see the likes of Callum Chambers or Cedric Soares play in that position. But for me, I'd rather see Cedric Soares play in that right wing-back position, because he's much more better attacking rather than the likes of Hector Bellerin or Callum Chambers. And Mikel Arteta admitted himself that Cedric Soares is more attacking, whereas Hector Bellerin is more defensive, but Callum Chambers has the blend of both. But I want to see more of an attacking right wing back in the form of Cedric Soares. So moving into the left wing back role, who do I want to see in this position? Well, this is a good question to ask, because there is some players which you can play in that position. But for me, in that left wing back role, I want to see the likes of Bukayo Saka play in that position, because if you have a player such as Saka, who is very good at coming back to help in the defence, and he's really good at attacking as well, those balls that he puts in, and allowing Mikel Arteta to really have a strong left-hand side of the flank to really target the likes of Chalobah, a very inexperienced right centre-back, even though he has impressed. And as we look at his pace with the likes of Saka, this will be a good option to make from Mikel Arteta. So moving into the midfield, since we have a lack of options in that left centre mid position, we will definitely see the likes of Xhaka play, because I have no other option, because I'd rather see the likes of Thomas Partey or someone like that play in that position, but Xhaka will play in that left centre mid role. In that right centre mid role, I would love to see the likes of Lucas Torreira given the opportunity, or Ainsley Maitland-Niles given the opportunity, but Sambi Lokonga is someone that was one of the shining lights in the game versus Brentford, and I would love to see him in that midfield. So in terms of the striker departments, you can see clearly that we have a lot of good players in this lineup that's been given the opportunity to play in this position. You can look at the goalkeeper, but Leno, okay, he's decent. But if you look at Ben White, he is a player that thrives in that position. If you look at Kieran Tierney, he's a player that thrives in that left centre-back role because he can do his defensive duties, and he's also given the freedom to bomb up forward as well. If you look at Saka, he's someone that is good at his defensive duties as well, and he's someone that can operate more further up as well. When it comes to Granit Xhaka, he's someone that can give the ball and rely on the wing play rather than him having the ball most of the time, because they know they will lose the midfield battle versus Kante alone. When it comes to Lokonga, he can operate his balls where he likes to do those diagonal balls, them balls where he likes to give the wing back opportunity, something that Kieran Tierney can do down the left flank, and even Cedric Soares can do down the right flank, because I think his ability to cross the ball is really decent. So now moving into the forward lineup, in terms of the right winger role, we have a few options. But the real option in that right winger role is Nicola Pepe. And I want to see Nicola Pepe more closer to the goal. And that's something that he was known for at Lille, his ability to score goals. He was the second highest goal scorer after the likes of Kylian Mbappe at the Ligue 1. And that's something that helped heavily when they finished second in that league as well. If Nicola Pepe is closer to the goal, the ability to cut inside and score with his left foot, and the ability to cut to his right and make a good assist is something that Nicola Pepe can thrive on, and he doesn't really have to rely heavily on his defensive duties and focus more on his attacking prowess, and really give the likes of Alonso problems due to his ability to love to go forward as well. And if you have Cedric Soares and Nicola Pepe, two attacking players that are moving more to dominating the attack, this will prevent Alonso expressing his abilities on the ball and his attacking prowess as well. So moving into that left winger role, you'll probably ask, where is this man? And that is Emil Smith-Rowe. As I mentioned, he likes to operate very well in the half spaces, and Smith-Rowe is a player that I think can operate very well in this left winger role, because he's more closer to the goal, so he can take those shots, and he has the opportunity to really make a difference when it comes to assist making and help everyone guide their play throughout. And when he gets the ball, it will cause problems to the right centre back, which will probably be the likes of Chalobah. So up front, we really do not have any options if Lacazette and Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang are not there, and I'll happily see Gabriel Martinelli in that position. So I think this will be a really dominant back three formation, which Mikel Arteta should adopt throughout this whole season, in my opinion. Try something new, and I think this is a formation that will make a lot of sense, in my opinion, because when we don't have the likes of Martin Odegaard, which the 4-2-3-1 formation makes sense with, I think this formation is a decent formation, given the fact that Ramsdale, someone that's played under Sheffield United, Bournemouth, where they had played with the back three, knows his position making, knows how to receive the ball, and knows when to pass long and when to pass short. And when you have Kieran Tierney and Ben White, someone that thrives in that right centre-back position, given the freedom to move forward, that is something that will be useful. And with Pablo Mari's pace being a huge problem, but his awareness on the ball and awareness of the game is something that is utilised. And Kieran Tierney, given the freedom to do his defensive duties but also bomb forward, Saka in particular, he can do both as well. Cedric Soares more on the attacking side, and Lokonga, which could be easily replaced by Martin Odegaard, as he's wearing the number 8 shirt and he can definitely operate in that midfield role, as he's more of someone like a Kevin De Bruyne. He likes to put a ball in, he likes to get the ball from deep, and that's something that could be utilised heavily. So I think this will be a superb lineup versus Chelsea. I think this will be our strongest lineup versus Chelsea rather than what Mikel Arteta will put with, and hopefully you guys agree. Make sure you guys leave a comment below if you think Mikel Arteta's lineup versus Chelsea or my lineup versus Chelsea is better. But other than that, guys, remain blessed. Stay tuned for the next video, and I'll see you there.